Today I'm talking with Erica Centola, owner of Turn Us All Dance Studio and artistic director of the Rochester Adult Ballet Company, and someone who knows firsthand the challenges of returning to ballet as an adult. We talk about creating a studio environment that meets the needs of adult learners, how adults can build confidence in the studio, and how Erica is making the stage accessible through her nonprofit dance company. I absolutely loved talking to Erica. Her passion and love for adult dancers is contagious, and what she's doing in her community is truly inspiring. You're going to love her, so let's get into the episode. Erica, thank you so much for being here. So, can you start by sharing with my audience a little bit about your background and how you came to work with adult dancers specifically?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I started my background, I danced when I was younger, from about the age of 3 till about like middle school age. Kind of fell out of love with it, did the teenager thing and went on and did sports and other things. Went through college, graduated with a biology degree, then entered the workforce. Had 2 kids, and I had a hole in my life, and ever since middle school, I always was trying to fill the dance hole. It never really worked, and so after my 2nd son, I started looking for things, 1, to get back in shape, and 2, to see if there was adult dance. I had been out of it for so long, so eventually, it was very hard, but I found an adult class and started taking class, learning more. And then my teacher was in a fatal accident, and her daughters encouraged me to keep her work going. So I took over her classes and I started teaching adults. I was teaching them for a bit. And then I was like, oh, I want to expand on this. So I started teaching kids too. And I learned a lot teaching kids. And then was like, teaching kids is great. I am not the best teacher for them, and started to hone in on just teaching adults and then opened my own studio in 2020. And here
Yeah.
we are today.
How do you approach designing a class for adult dancers? I would imagine as someone who came into a class as an adult student, you probably had some things that you really wanted from a class now on the teaching end of it. So can you kind of describe what those things are and how you set up your classes and the things that you prioritize?
Yeah. So I definitely look at it very, very differently than I would say most. Um, I have a learning disability. So I am dyslexic, and it's something that has I have struggled with. But because of this struggle, I think it also has helped me figure out lots of different ways to help individuals learn. So when I set up all of my lesson plans, all of my curriculums, things are done very slow.
Mhm.
Um, so unlike your maybe traditional class where you are getting through everything at the bar, fondues, frappes, ronde-jambs, developes, grand battements, all of those things, I try and really, really break it down. Because what I'm seeing and what I wanted as an adult is I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn. I had holes from when I was a child previously, and I wanted those holes filled for myself. So I just kind of base it off of me going, well, if I want those holes filled, other people are going to want them filled. So we talk a lot in depth about alignment, about what muscles, about breaking down the steps instead of just being like, it looks like this. Because some people are visual, but some people really need that explanation of what muscles are firing, or even like visual things different than look at my leg. So making sure you have those things to give to the students. So slow is the name of the game. And I know that sometimes when I have new students that come in, they might seem frustrated, or they're like, "Why are we doing this so slow? We don't get through everything." Um, but I've seen such tremendous growth
Yeah.
with my students and what they're able to do now, um, that I know that the method that I'm using is working.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times if you've been in ballet classes for a while, or even if you trained as a child and you come back to it, you almost don't realize how much is packed into an hour, hour and a half class. Like, a lot of times in my open class, there'll be someone who comes in who's brand new, and seeing them experience a class and just, like, the amount of overload, it's like drinking through a fire hose. I'm like, "Yeah, this is a lot." Like, it is a lot packed into a class, and I think it's a really hard part of jumping in as an adult is a lot of studios don't cater to giving enough time to really work through the foundational things that are actually gonna give you the tools you need to be able to progress, and so, like, I know even for me in my own training, there's been things where it's taken so much longer because I didn't get that time, up front, because in class it was just like go, 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 and so I didn't have time to really work on nuance, and now I'm like, "Oh, man, if I had gone a little slower on the front end, I might, have less funky habits or just different things." So, like, I think there's something to be said for that for sure with doing things really slowly and giving people the time to really let it get in their bodies versus feeling like you're just in the panic mode of trying to remember the combination.
Yes, yeah, like, especially adults, like, we have so much going on in our minds, like, it's we have work, we have families, we have appointments, we have what am I doing tomorrow? So in my classes, I encourage my instructors to do this. We repeat combinations. We repeat classes for 3 or 4 weeks.
Love
That
that.
first time that you do a combination, it's sometimes just like, "Oh my gosh, let me just get through this."
Yeah.
But you don't ever have the time to really, like, think about the articulation of the foot or how am I holding myself or, "Oh, did I let that alignment go?" But week 3, week 4, there's such a difference, and then there's a confidence that's built, and that's what we need as adults. Would you come to my studio and say, "Wow, this is just like classes that I used to take when I was younger," or I is it set up, like, as a professional type of class? No, it's not, but I think the training speaks for itself because of what my students are able to do, multiple turns, big jumps, things like that, and just the confidence
Yeah.
that they have to do it.
Yeah, and another thing I love about that is that it gives you a clearer, cleaner way to mark progress. I often think that's really hard in ballet to measure progress when every week is so different from class to class, because even a tendu combination one to the other can be so different. And so I had a teacher who was doing that for a while where she would have set combinations for the month. And so every week the class was the same. And I think it is incredible. Like, I wish that every studio or teacher I took from did that, because for me, it was such a gift as a student to be able to have much more measurable progress by doing the same combination multiple times and thinking, "Oh, the first week we did this, my arms were a mess because all I could think about were the feet. But now I can do this combination. I can think about my port de bras because I feel more confident about the feet." So you can really like build in a way that I think is so good. So I love that.
Yeah, yeah, it's been fun to watch that journey also with my students. It was important for me, so I'm glad that it's important for my other students that have found me too, so
Yeah, I've said this before. I think that this is my hot take. I think that teachers that danced as adults make the best teachers of adults, because there's a deep personal understanding of what it is like to walk into the classroom as an adult. And I've had many teachers that I love that, danced professionally all the way through, and but I do think it's a little bit harder for them to empathize with some of the struggles that adults have coming back to dance or starting dance for the first time, because it's different. Like you're saying, we come in with adult brain things clamoring for your attention. You come in, maybe you had, I've literally been in class and checked my phone and gotten like a really crappy work email like in the middle of class. And, it's like there's just like those realities of being an adult in the classroom that are so different from teaching kids. And so things like what you're doing and how you're building out the structure of your classes, it's like such a gift to adult students to have a teacher that gets it. So, how do you, in working with your students through their progress, how do you encourage them to take ownership of their progress and feel confident in their abilities as they're growing as students?
I talk a lot and I like to give my own experiences because it it helps connect us. Um, and I hope that they look to me and they go, "Wow, if she sometimes struggles with something, it's okay that I struggle." So I will give them examples like so in some of my point classes, we are working on pirouettes in the
Mhm.
center. And it's scary. It's scary, okay? We have built up confidence. We're working on these things. So I was talking with them the other day and just trying to make it real. Like, okay, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Maybe you're going to come out of point. Okay. Um, I also gave them kind of a story. I was watching I don't remember who it was. I was watching somebody on Instagram, somebody that I look up to that is another adult ballerina. She had recorded herself doing pirouettes on point, and she nailed the first one. And then the second one, she does a double. And then the third one was a yard sale, and she ended up on the floor. She was fine, everything was fine, and, she posted that as a real moment, okay? And she's a beautiful dancer, and then in the comments, she had some of her friends and then some professional dancers saying to her, like, "Is it even point practice if you don't fall?" But that gave me confidence, like, nobody said to her, like, "Oh, you shouldn't be on point because you fell." No, it was just it's the reality of it. So sharing that with them and letting them know that it's okay to play. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like, sometimes we need playtime. Like, just walk around in your point shoes on point. Sometimes, like, if we're practicing jumps, throw yourself in the air.
Yeah.
One of my favorite sayings is, "Embrace the suck." The first time, it's probably gonna suck, and I'm giving you that I'm allowing you that, The next time, it's gonna be better, and I take class at my studio. I love jazz, but I am not great at it, okay? And I am scared of jumps, like big jumps. But I will go out and I do it. And whether it's perfect or not, I try. And I hope that they see that and they're like, "Wow, if she's willing to try, I can try too."
Yeah.
So just yeah, trying to be that leader that, it doesn't have to be perfect.
And I think it's something that we so need to see the reality of what learning and progress looks like, because I think a lot of times, when you just go see professional productions or you just watch professional productions, you're seeing the finished product, and like that's what we're comparing ourselves to a lot of times, is like this perfect polished performance moment. And I love social media for that reason, when people post, the behind closed doors of studio time and practice. And actually, it's funny, even yesterday, Isabella Boylston from ABT posted a video of her coach, like, roasting her on a step that she was doing wrong, and I was like, that is so comforting to me on so many levels, that even the professionals are having to learn, they're having to work through things, and, like, we
Yes.
so need to see that as adults, because I think we a lot of times put this really unfair standard in our minds of comparing ourselves to the last professional production we saw or watched online and thinking like, why can't I look like that?" And it's like, they don't even look like that when they're rehearsing and, falling out of pirouettes. And I love that you create that space for just being able to see what things feel like and play in that way, because, yes, we wanna get good and we wanna be taken seriously and take ourselves seriously, but we also want to enjoy it. And it's a balance, right, of, like, figuring out what that looks like and giving people space to try and fail and be a beginner and not feel like there's something wrong with them if they can't just, like, get it right the first time, you know?
Oh, there's been some things that we talk about in class because, when I was I guess I'm a little bit older, so I was part of that, like, when I grew up through dance, like that if you don't do it right the first time, you shouldn't do it at all. And we've had to deprogram some of that in class, and we spend time on that because I think a lot of dancers, no matter what type of dance, you are that type A personality. You do strive for a perfect, kind of look. But we need to give ourselves some grace, and remember that we're also learning. This is how you learn.
Yeah, and learning anything is messy.
Yeah, would we tell that to a child? So why would we do it to ourselves?
Yeah, yeah, and why I hope and I think it is happening. Studios are changing and that the culture is shifting a little bit, but I hope that even for the kids, it starts to shift more in that direction of, like, being allowed to figure things out a little bit more versus just, like you were saying earlier, see it, do it, get it right the first time. Like, I hope that things can shift because I think that type of shift is going to be what keeps people in ballet for the long haul, even if they don't go professionally. Like, I encounter so many adults, and I'm sure you do too, who they danced as a child, they had some sort of, like, trauma or, like, icky experience, and so they were like, I'm out," and then are coming back as adults as the space is changing, and I think my hope for the future is that there doesn't have to be that big break if you don't want it because your childhood experience is fine and good, and so even if you don't wanna be a professional, like, you feel like there's space for you to just keep dancing for enjoyment, and there's room for that. It's not just like, "Get in or get out."
I was literally just talking to my husband about this and saying, like, how amazing is it going to be in a few years when those seniors from high school that are still dancing graduate and they can still continue to take dance. Like there's a spot for them maybe even though they are not pursuing it professionally, but they're a dedicated passionate dancer
Yeah.
that there's all these opportunities now. Like I just that's amazing because it wasn't there for me, so I'm so happy to see that happening.
Yeah, it really yeah, I look forward to seeing things evolve even more over the next, like, 10, 15 years because I think we're moving in the right direction, it's just progress can be slow sometimes, but I do think it's changing, and I think adults are giving that gift to the whole ballet world in some sense. Like, I think us kind of, like, pushing our way into ballet has kind of made some things change even for the kids and just for studio culture in general, and so I'm like, "Yes, come on, adults, just keep holding it down, like, we're gonna do it."
Yeah, I definitely feel like too, like we are trying to like definitely bulldoze our way in. I feel like there's been some resistance, but I think there's a lot of us and we're pretty strong-minded, so hold on to your hats.
Yeah, like, "We want classes, we wanna be taken seriously, we wanna perform."
I got big girl money and I can spend it here. This is what I want to spend it on,
Totally, totally, I know, we're like, "Take our money, please, just give us the
Please.
things we're asking for." But I love it because 'cause you're doing it. You are like, "Yes, sure, here you go," which is amazing, so hopefully there's many, many more Ericas around the United States that are gonna be opening studios and teaching adults, like, I love it, it makes me excited to think about the possibility of the future. Are you ready to finally understand your turnout, find your alignment, and unlock those extensions you've been chasing? Join Ali Christensen in London, February 14th and 15th, 2026, for the London Intensive for Adults, a weekend designed for dancers of every level. This event is a deep dive into the most requested topics for adult dancers: alignment, turnout, flexibility, and extensions. In each session, Ali will guide you through targeted exercises, offer hands-on tips, and help you take what you learn straight into your own dancing. And the best part? You'll get time to apply these cues directly to your classwork without feeling rushed through a full class. Plus, your registration comes with 3 months of free access to the Dancer Strong platform, so you can keep receiving support and building on what you learn after the weekend ends. For registration details, check out the show notes or visit Align Fitness by Ali on Instagram. Your best dancing is waiting for you on the other side. Don't miss out. I would love to know as a teacher because I'm just a student and I know a lot of our listeners like we're on the student side of things. So what advice would you give adult students walking into a ballet class?
I have a couple of things. as I give my classes and I remind my own students this, I'm like, I am kind of like, yes, I'm your instructor and I'm helping you, but I'm also kind of like your ballet Sherpa. Okay. So I'm kind of putting all of these things out here for you. And I want you to treat it maybe kind of like it's a buffet. Okay. Take the correction that you want, maybe take two corrections, but don't go eat the whole buffet. Okay. Because you're going to walk out not feeling great. So, like, take like two things, focus on that. Okay. Because don't worry, there's more than enough coming back next week. The other thing that has helped me personally a lot is having a journal. Like, what corrections do you keep getting over and over and over and over again? Write those down. Or if there was like a nugget from class that you were like, oh, she had me hold my arms this way, write that down. um, and you don't have to like revisit it all the time, but every once in a while I look back in my journal and go, "Oh, that was yes, I'm going to focus on that right now." And then it also helps me kind of track like, yeah, how far I've come. So, piecemeal it. You don't have to eat the whole buffet, small bites. And the journal thing is just that's been a game changer for me.
Yeah, I love the buffet analogy. That's such a great way to think of it because I think we do as students a lot of times come in and expect ourselves to just be able to like take everything, and you like even feel it, I think, sometimes in your own internal energy and emotion of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I need this. She's telling me this. Okay, I gotta go. There's this like panic that starts to happen, especially if you're in a class with a teacher who does like to give a lot of corrections. And one of the great things about being an adult is having a little bit more agency and free will that we get to operate in of like, today, I am not focusing on that correction, so I thank you, teacher, and I will be not fixating on that today.
Yeah, and that's important though for like a teacher to recognize. Sometimes some of us show up to class and you are lucky we are there. Okay. It's been a day and I made it to class, and that is a bonus. And other days you are ready for more. But yeah, we are adults and we can choose what we want to work on. It doesn't have to be everything. I was working a lot on turning at one point as a student. And what I figured out for myself was like, I really need to get my strong standing leg. That's my biggest time.
Mhm.
That's it's not spotting, it's not a high releve. I have to focus on this. So I would get other corrections in class and I'd have to kind of be like, no, 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 no. And just strong standing leg, strong standing leg, strong standing leg. And I did that for a while and it helped. And now I can put those other things on there.
Yeah, it's funny, I'm like I'm just, like, putting this idea out in the universe, and I'm like, "Any studio owner or teacher that wants to take this, feel free," but I actually think it would be kind of a great idea for people who teach adults to have, like, stickers available when you walk in the classroom that, like, if you wear that sticker, it's like, "I don't want corrections today." Yes.
I have a wristband.
Oh my god,
I have
yes.
a wristband. Like, literally, I give them out. Everybody, they have a wristband. If they wear the wristband, they're open to personalized corrections. And if they don't have it on, it's like, "You're happy I am here." I get it. Maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you just need to, like,
Yeah,
dance it out. So,
yes.
they take off the wristband. Even mid-class, I'm like, "Hey, if you wanna start with that on and you're, like, open to it, and then you're like, if she gives me one more correction, I am gonna cry in my car. Take it off,
Yes.
and then, you know, no big deal."
Yeah, I you're the first person I've met who has ever been on that wavelength, and I think a lot of it probably is because a lot of teachers are not in a position of being a student themselves, and so they kind of forget that feeling maybe, or they were professionals, which kind of comes with the, like, suck it up mentality of, like, you just have to deal, which I get. I'm like, "That's if you're a professional, cool," but, like, I'm not. I'm here. I may have just come off of a really crappy day. I may have gotten a fight with my spouse, like, whatever. So I think I love that for adults because, like you said, sometimes just getting there is like I talked about on the podcast a couple weeks ago, like, I had a full-on crying in my car moment after class a couple weeks ago because it was just one of those days where it was too much to also be getting corrections on top of just where my headspace was at outside of the studio. And I'm like, my gosh, if there had been stickers or wristbands that day, I probably wouldn't have been crying in my car after class.
And that's what I say. When I hand these out, I'm like, I don't want you crying in your car. So please use it. Okay. I don't know where you're coming from once you walk in that door. Yeah. I don't know what kind of day everybody has had. And if it's one little thing where I'm like, oh, bring your elbow up, and you're like, that's it. I'm done. I can't do this. And yeah, I would rather not have that. So take the wristband off, and then there's no crying in the car. Okay. Why is that a thing that we all do that? We all cry in our cars after dance class. Like, this shouldn't be a
No.
thing.
Sadly, I have gotten quite a few responses from that podcast episode of people being like, "Oh my gosh, this is so relatable." And I'm like, in some ways, I'm like, I'm really glad that maybe this could help you feel less alone. And on the other hand, I'm like, this is so sad that so many of us cry in our car after class. But
Like, what is that about? Yeah. Like,
yeah.
okay.
So I would love to talk about your work with the Rochester Adult Ballet Company,
Yeah.
and the nonprofit that you formed to give adults these opportunities. Because, like we were talking about earlier, I think, a lot of us as adults, we're like knocking on the door. We want these opportunities, and you're someone who has really answered that desire. And so, could you share a little bit about the Adult Ballet Company and the mission behind it, how it was started, all the things?
So, started maybe what 3 years ago, and again, it was selfishly. I always wanted to be part of a company. I will dance solos, but I love to dance with individuals. Like, my ballet dream is to be part of a corps. And just that connection that you get. So I started this in Rochester. We do have it's a very artsy area. So we do have lots of artists and a place that kind of supports this. So every year we do auditions. Right now we have, I believe there's 20 dancers that are part of the company. Right now, currently, the dancers are not paid. It is a dream of mine that they will be able to be paid. So currently we just came off of Fringe Fest. We auditioned people to be part of that. And I want dance is a performing art. It's supposed to be performed. And again, I wanted to perform. I wanted more. So I was like, there's got to be some other individuals that would love to do this. So that's what it's about right now. We're a 501c, we're young and trying to figure all the crazy things out.
Such a cool thing. I'm like, "I wish I was close. I wanna be in your adult ballet company." It just sounds so cool, and the stuff that you post on social media, it's so inspiring. I was, talking we did a podcast episode about the KM and Friends Adult Ballet Intensive that I went to, and me and one of the other girls who were there were talking about the performances at the end of the week and watching our fellow adult dancers perform and how incredibly inspiring and moving it was to watch for both of us, actually. We both said even more so than watching a professional, like,
Mhm.
Royal Ballet or, ABT performance, like, watching fellow adult dancers is just so inspiring, and I think it's inspiring not only to fellow adult dancers, but I think it is inspiring to their friends and family, to see someone really pursue something that challenges them, but also brings them a lot of joy. I love the idea of, like, kids getting to see their parents do something like that as an adult and still have a creative outlet. Because I think so many times as adults, like, that side of our lives and, like, our innate need to, like, be creative just kind of gets shut off because there's so many other things that we're trying to do with, like, work and all this stuff, and so
Yeah.
I just think it's so important to have more things like this, and I love that you're doing it. I'm curious, what has it been like watching your students move into this experience of getting to perform? Like, what have you kind of seen in them as they've gone from, like, being students more so in a classroom environment to actually getting to perform?
It's so I have a very, very wide range of students. So everybody from who is just taking like their first ballet class to people that are advanced, and that used to perform as kids and everything like that. So getting to see the ones that it's like their first performance, it's very, very exciting. And then for the ones that are returning, it's like watching somebody get to experience something that they thought was lost to them.
Mm,
And I feel there's so many emotions. I hope I'm empowering them. I feel empowered. I feel so grateful and like just to see the smiles afterwards, like knowing like I did this. I did this and I did it well. Watching their family members come up to them and congratulate them and tell them how awesome they did, or see them 1 year into the next year and then tell them, wow, you've really progressed. It's so neat to see these transformations happen.
yeah. Yeah, do you think there's unique benefits to performing and adding performing into your ballet journey versus just doing classes?
Yeah. Um, like I said, dance, ballet is a performing art. And that's where you get to take everything that you're learning in class and apply it. Yes, you're applying the steps and the technique, but also part of your soul comes out there. You know, you are an artist. I know there's this whole debate about are dancers athletes? No, they're not, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we have to be in crazy great condition, but we are also bearing our soul on stage.
Mhm.
Um, and I think being able to do that, it makes you vulnerable, and it also to me, it crosses over into the rest of your life, and being vulnerable isn't a bad thing. You're not weak. You're strong because you can do that, and I think it is an important thing, and I one of the reasons why I started the adult ballet company because there was no opportunities for adults to perform. And we have so much that we have lived, so many things that we have gone through, heartbreak, car accidents, births, deaths, and this is your chance to put it out there. Somebody will connect with you too. That's the other thing. You have no idea who you just touched, who you just inspired. So even though you might be scared, nervous, all of those things, somebody is watching you and they are inspired. So it's
Yeah.
so important.
I often think too, even with performing, that is similar to what we were talking about earlier. One of the great benefits is that it does give you the opportunity to work on specific steps and combinations in a more repetitive and nuanced way. Like I haven't really done actually really any performing outside of, intensives in ballet, but when I used to dance salsa and perform salsa, like that was one of the things I loved about performing is that it really forced me, but in a positive way, to work on certain steps or things that maybe I was like a little uncomfortable with or felt a little afraid of, but then I knew, okay, if I commit to this performance, it's going to push me to really put in that work and put in the practice and work on the things that are maybe a little bit sketchy for me right now. And so I think that's another really great aspect of committing yourself to performing is that in some ways it's like an added layer of accountability of like,
Yeah.
oh, you're going to put in work when you know you're performing it.
You're going to do this now. Yeah. You've signed the paper. You paid for the costume. You're ready to go. Yeah. Yeah. You're facing your fears too. So, like, if you can do that with that, then, you can do it with anything.
Yeah, and it does, it really does give you confidence, I think, in other aspects of life. Like, the first time I performed as an adult after I got off stage, I was like, "I could do anything." Like it's just funny how, because being in front is kind of like what did they say? Public speaking is like people are more afraid of that than death. Performing is kind of a facet of the same type of thing. It's not speaking, but it's speaking with your body, and so I think there's like for a lot of us, being on stage doing something is really scary, and when you can conquer that and come out the other side, I think it really does build your confidence just as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a huge benefit to it.
So if you could leave the adult dancers who are listening with one practical tip to enhance their class experience or their performance experience, what would that be?
Try and see yourself through somebody else's eyes and how they see you. Okay. Try not to be so in your head all the time because chances are somebody is looking at you and you are inspiring them. You are their next level. They want to do what you're doing. Okay. So step back and always take a look at how far you've come. Practical tip. Um, Try not to do static stretching before class. That's not great.
That's a good tip, though, honestly. That's a good tip.
Yeah. Because one, it makes you weaker actually. So if you're doing jumps or any kind of powerful movements, that you just decrease that by a whole bunch. So moving and warming up is great, but just don't sit in splits. Like that time is over. We don't do that anymore. You want to practice that, do that after class. So there's my one touchy feely, and there's one hard thing that you can really work on.
I love it. We need both in life. We need the touchy-feely and we need the scientific fact. Both are equally valid and we need them both. So where can listeners connect with Turn Us All Dance and the Rochester Adult Ballet Company, connect with you? How can they find you and see all the fun things you're doing?
So we are on Instagram. It's for my studio. It's Turn Us All Dance. We're on Facebook with the same thing, Turn Us All Dance. Also, Rochester Adult Ballet Company is on Instagram with that name. Myself, Erica Centola. I am on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm literally getting ready to launch an online dance program with programs that people can take in their own home. It could be supplemental. So yeah, so that's what I'm currently working on.
Oh, I love that. Exciting things ahead, exciting things that are already happening. So make sure you go follow Erica and all the things she's doing. I will have all of the links in the show notes to be able to connect with her and her studio and her adult ballet company. So thank you so much, Erica. This has been such an inspiring and fun conversation. And I know
Yes.
our listeners will be super motivated to continue on in their journeys after listening. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I love this. This was great.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support the show, you can join the After Class Core de Ballet for just $3 a month through the listener support feature. It really helps keep the podcast going, and as a member, you'll even get a special shout out in future episodes. All the links mentioned in this episode, including the link to join the Core, are included in the show notes. See you next week after class!